Hello dear students, I am Prabhat Dubey from LPM Public School, Gola Bazar. I am your BSc teacher and today we will discuss about position of Indian subcontinent in world economy. Till now we studied how trade evolved in India, how Indian trade relation with European, Greek and other nations established, how Silk Route and Spice Route provided an impetus to Indian trade. What were the major exports and imports? What were the items that made foreigners attracted towards India, and how the accidental discovery of America took place. So all these things provided a cumulative effort in establishing India as a trade centers on the global map. Now we will see the position of Indian subcontinent. What was the India's share in global business and how India established control on world economy. As we have witnessed that from 1st to 7th century, India was a dominant player in global trade. India was called as the land of gold. India was considered as golden bird. Different names were given to India due to the impact of India on global trade. Like in your book on page number 15, it is mentioned that the country of India was referred as Swarnabhumi and Swarndeep. People were so much attracted towards Indian wealth, Indian spices, Indian agricultural produce, and Indian minerals. Indian tradition was also very attractive. Different foreigners were attracted to the Hindu religion, Buddha religion, Jains, all these religious symbolic representations, the religious gurus, Vedas, the rich Indian tradition and culture attracted foreigners, rulers from different ethnic background, different cultural backgrounds. All these people came to India. Some came for business, some came from trade, some came for establishing business relationships, and some came for plundering Indian wealth. The motive was different. Some came here for religious peace, some for religious tolerance, how to live with such a vast religious communities, such a difference, caste, creed, nationalism, birth. India was a place where different religions proliferated at the same time. You cannot find such example in other countries. Some countries are discriminating on the basis of religion, like Pakistan. Indian subcontinent was giving shelter to each and every person who was coming to India. Such was the impact of India. The Maurya, Gupta and the early age kingdoms were very prosperous. They were establishing trade relations as we have studied till now. Different countries were in close association with India, like Myanmar, that was earlier called Burma, Singapore, Bangkok, here Afghanistan, China, Iran, Turkey, all were in close association with India for trade and for religious facts as well. So we will see how this dominance of India in trade on global platform was eradicated. How the plunderers, the looters, the foreigners whose motive was not noble came to India and devastated Indian trade, Indian business, and how the orthodox thinking of India made the growth go down. What were the factors that hampered Indian growth? And India, who was the ruler of foreign trade, who was the leader of international trade, came to such a devastating phase. And during the British period, the most lethal blow to Indian trade and Indian economy was witnessed during the British colonial rule. Britishers were just exploiting Indian market for the benefit of their own residents. As you know that there were different factors that made Britishers industrialized in very early age, from 16th 17th century. Different types of machines were invented in England, but in India the cottage industries were using the traditional mode of manufacturing, and from this period the difference between India and European nations was made deeper. While in early age, India was far ahead from the European nations, from China, Japan, and Turkey as well. It is written in the second point. In the first point, it is written as between 1st and 17th century, India controlled around one third of the world's wealth. Around one third of the global business was regulated by India. Such was the huge impact of India on trade. But later on, India was still far behind Western Europe in technology, innovation, and ideas. The factors that made India lagging behind. Until now, India is not able to compete with the developed nations. Technology, innovation, and ideas. The main points that made India lagging behind were advent of orthodox manufacturing practices. While in Western parts of the world, technology was just changing very rapidly and they were imbibing the technological upgradations. That's why different modern machines were brought into practice in Europe during the British colonial period, 17th, 18th and 19th century. Indian trade, Indian cottage industries were devastated by Britishers. As we know that it was the exploitatory policies of Britishers. Britishers claimed that they came to India for the development of Indians. This is a completely manipulated version of exploitation. Britishers were attracted to India just for the sake of Indian resources, Indian gold, Indian spices, Indian artisans, Indian culture. They were taking full benefit of Indian market as India was a rich source of agricultural produce. While in Britain, there was not proper agricultural produce to satisfy the basic need of Britishers. And during the World War, the scenario was also very grim. England was not able to meet the defense requirements. That's why they were dependent on Indian army. Indians were recruited and they went to fight with British forces. And they promised that in return they will make India free. But they defaulted on this, and so the fight for Indian independence became more intense. We will see all these things during the age of 1950s, and in 1947 India became independent, but the economic status of India was very poor at that state. India, China, Japan were on at least same platform on that age, but during 20 to 30 years China and Japan took advantage of their policies. They made proper change in their manufacturing style, and nowadays we can witness the change between India, Japan and China. China and Japan are far ahead to us. Okay, but because they are utilizing proper use of their resources, their manpower is devoted. But in India, the manpower is not satisfied, as we have studied in management that if the workforce is satisfied, then the productivity will increase. And if the workforce is having grievance, they are not devoted to their work, there will be a negative impact on the productivity and the resources will be what? Devastated. They will not be properly utilized. If you are not ensuring the proper utilization of your resources, your cost will go high, your productivity will suffer, and ultimately the prestige of your nation, your country and your manufacturing unit will go down. As you know that in international trade, the image of the country, the image of the company plays very important role, and it takes a lot of time, lot of efforts to make a brand, to make a image, a positive image is to be created in the global environment. Then only people will consider that your product is of good quality and your intentions are noble. Because some countries are involved in fake trade. On the name of trade, they are just creating different types of conspiracies to devastate the established economies. That's why the leading economies are very cautious in establishing their business relations. So this period of 1950s was very crucial. If we talk about, till now we were discussing the phase before 1950. As we witness that from 1st to 7th century, Indian trade was dominating the global impact. But after 7th to 19th century, different types of exploitations were there, different types of plunderers, looters came to India and they looted Indian wealth. As you know that Indian temples were very rich. Until now, there are 3 to 4 temples like the South Indian Padmanabh temple, Tirupati Balaji, Shirdi Sai Baba temple, and some more temples like Mathura Vrindavan, and the shrines of Muslims like in Ajmer Sharif in Delhi. There is 1 or 2 monuments, and Amritsar, the Gurudwara in Amritsar. All these temples and shrines are very prosperous. They are containing huge wealth. Even they can control the Indian GDP. So much wealth is hidden in the temples of ancient time. But even the government of India is not able to discover that. They are considered the prosperity, the property of temple. And on the religious backgrounds, the government cannot interfere in that. If any government official want to discover them, they have to take proper permission from the courts, and the legal process takes a lot of time. That's why no one can pay attention to that wealth. We will see how in the modern period the Indian trade was evolved, what were the practices that were imbibed, and how India cope up with the different types of challenges. As you know that there is a huge population in India. There is a great diversity of language, culture, the needs. Their lifestyle is also different, taste, language. So to control such a vast, diverse population is a challenge for Indian administrators. So after the independence, the 5-year plan played an important role, but they were not sufficient enough to bring India on proper track. Jawaharlal Nehru introduced 5-year plan in 1952. But till then, India relied on foreign borrowings. Till now, Indian expenditure is more than the income. Fiscal deficit is there. We are not able to produce ample wealth to regulate our economy. Okay, so we are not in profitable state. Our expenditure is more than our income. You can witness the budget. Every year, fiscal deficit is there, 3 to 4%. Fiscal deficit is always there. So during these 30 to 40 years of time, Indian trade and Indian manufacturing practices were evolved. India tried to cope up with the fast, rapid change in the industrial structure, manufacturing process. Advent of sophisticated machineries were introduced. But as you know that lack of fund was the main problem before Indian manufacturing institutions. And the credit system was also not capable enough to cater to the need of the industries and MSMEs. Till now, lack of fund is the major factor that was making us weak. Indian agricultural farmers, Indian MSME unit holders, and even the major industrials, major industries cannot afford the globalized, revolutionized technological advancements. We are 10 to 15 years behind the developed nations. The technology that we are using is not in use in the developed countries. We are still orthodox in our manufacturing process. So we will see how Indian economy was liberalized in 1991 under the guidance of P.V. Narasimha Rao. Dr. Manmohan Singh was the finance minister at that time, and he realized this is the right time to open Indian market to the global competition. Otherwise, the conservative mode of business will make India lag behind. This was very innovative thinking. Different types of politicians were opposing the new step that was taken by Narasimha Rao. But he realized that if we don't open our market to global players, Indian market will lag behind. There is no other route to revolutionize the change. So in the next lecture, we will study about how different types of policies, how the government efforts made India improve its status, and what were the shortcomings that made India lag behind even today. Even today, we are far behind to the developed economies. We will try to find out the proper reasons and how to cope up with these challenges. Okay, thanks.